No pain, no gain. Suck it up. There's no room for quitters here. Take a moment and reflect about the emotions and the expectations that phrases like these create. For an athlete, they communicate a very clear message about the level of sacrifice that is required to be successful in sports. Unfortunately, too many athletes misinterpret that level of sacrifice to mean whatever it takes. I love sports. I'm a sports junkie. I always have been. For many different reasons do I love sports. The competition, the sports themselves, the character building. But what I love most is being a part of a team. Athletes are taught from a very young age that being a part of a team means making personal sacrifices. And your sacrifice is for the good of the team. The sports culture that can allow you to experience firsthand making that sacrifice and that commitment, it's a beautiful thing. However, that same sports culture can play out in unexpected ways, especially on matters related to athlete health and wellness. Would we expect our sports heroes, our students, our children, our grandchildren to make sacrifices for the benefit of the team at the expense of their own well-being? My answer to that question is that sports has to embrace the idea that there is an I in team. By accepting the I in team, sports will position itself to cultivate athletes who are truly empowered to advocate for their own health and wellness as well as the health and wellness of their teammates. In 1905, President Teddy Roosevelt called a special meeting at the White House to discuss the perils of college football. He was appalled at the brutality of the sport, in particular an offensive play called the flying wedge, which was a V formation used to advance the ball down the field by violently running over the opposition. There were 15 deaths in college football in 1905 alone. That meeting subsequently led to the creation of the National Collegiate Athletics Association, the NCAA. The NCAA was founded with the sole intent of protecting the health and well-being of collegiate athletes. Our athletes today, they continue to experience a myriad of injuries. We see them all the time. The broken bones, the dislocated joints, the torn ACLs, the bumps, the bruises. But one of the greatest challenges we face in sports today are the injuries that we can't see, the injuries with invisible symptoms. A sport concussion is an invisible injury. A sport concussion is simply when an athlete receives a jolt to the head or the body. It causes the head and the brain to move back and forth quickly and violently, and it causes damage to the brain. There are approximately 4 million sport-related concussions reported in the United States each year. The athletes who experience those concussions often find themselves in the shadows. Take a moment. Imagine a college athlete recovering from a knee injury. See that athlete in the training room receiving treatment. See that athlete in the weight room working hard to build strength back into that injured leg. See that athlete wearing a knee brace, attending practice and cheering on their teammates. See that injured athlete wearing a knee brace, getting on the team bus to travel to a competition with their teammates. Imagine the words of encouragement that they experience in all of those settings, from team doctors to athletic trainers, their coaches, their teammates, their friends, their parents, the media, the fans. Now, certainly, that injured athlete is experiencing psychological distress because of that injury. That injured athlete is experiencing physical pain going through the rehabilitation process. But sports provides such a powerful support system that it can literally pull that athlete through the process. Now, contrast that with the experience of a concussed college athlete. See that athlete isolated in their dorm room or their apartment. Imagine no reading, no watching television, no playing video games. Why? Because the concussed athlete has been prescribed cognitive rest. See the concussed athlete's teammates at practice without them. See the concussed athletes on the teammates on the team bus traveling to a competition without them. See the concussed athlete standing in front of the mirror and the reflection showing no cast, no braces, no splints, no bandages, nothing to validate their injury or the symptoms that they are experiencing. Imagine the concussed athlete alone in the apartment, experiencing the common symptoms of a concussion, the irritability, the sluggishness, the unexplained changes in mood, the sensitivity to light, the sensitivity to noise, the headaches, the nausea. Shockingly, researchers estimate that 50 to 80% of sport concussions are never reported. With all the advances that we are making in understanding concussions, developing better protective equipment, making policy changes at all levels of sport, discovering more effective ways for treating concussions, the fact that 50 to 80% of sport concussions are never reported highlights one of the greatest challenges in sport concussion research. And that challenge is, if we don't know about a concussion, we cannot treat it. Let me say that again. If we do not know about a concussion, we cannot treat it. An athlete who experiences a concussive event and does not report it puts themselves at risk for experiencing additional concussions. These are called repeat concussions. Repeat concussions are extremely serious. They can plague an athlete for a lifetime and can even be fatal. The recent Hollywood movie, Concussion, demonstrated very clearly how repeat concussions can lead to chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE. Watching the athletes, their frustration, their desperateness, their anger when dealing with CTE was painfully sad to watch. So, armed with this information about the seriousness of concussions, why in the world are so many athletes not reporting? No pain, no gain. Suck it up. There's no quitters here. In the context of concussions, these phrases are powerful reminders of the sacrifice and the toughness that's required to be successful in sports. But they also provide insight as to why an athlete may make decisions that put their long-term health and wellness at risk. Most coaches and parents would never, ever expect an athlete to pay such a steep price for the chance to win a game or even a championship. the line between requiring the sacrifice and the commitment and the toughness that is required, but yet remaining genuinely concerned about an athlete's health and wellness is a fuzzy line. I have 3 daughters, and I worry about the expectations that I communicate to them when my reaction to the bloody nose, to the jammed finger, to the sprained ankle is, it's not so bad, you'll be fine, go play through it. But some of our best sports stories are about athletes who overcome illness and injury, and they find the strength within them to go and somehow will their team to victory. Who isn't inspired by images of Michael Jordan in the 1997 NBA Finals, Game 5, suffering from the flu, can barely make it to the arena, but somehow digs deep, scores 38 points, grabs 7 rebounds, tallies 5 assists, and leads the Bulls to victory? Who isn't inspired by images of Tiger Woods winning the 2008 U.S. Open on a broken leg with a torn ACL? These athletes played through illness and injury, and they did so successfully. However, they did so under the guidance and with the advice of highly qualified medical professionals. And they did so with a clear understanding of the risk that they were taking. The concussed athlete who makes the decision to not say anything to a coach or a trainer, just to play through it, they make that decision with 0 input from a medical professional and with very little understanding of the risk that they are taking. Our athletes are worried. They're worried that they're going to let us down. They're worried that they're going to disappoint their coaches and their teammates. They are worried that they're not going to be viewed as tough enough. They are worried that they might even be accused of making it all up if they do report. These fears, these concerns, they feed a stigma that powerfully plays into an athlete's decision to not report a concussion. A sports culture that continues to feed that stigma and reinforce that stigma is a sports culture that lacks a quality called care seeking. Our research is to learn about the athletes' perceptions of that stigma and how we can work to change it. We want to better understand how to create an environment in sports that lets us appeal to the athlete's desire to receive care, that destigmatizes care seeking, that promotes care seeking. A sports culture that promotes care seeking will help ensure that every athlete who experiences a concussion will get the care that they need until they are fully recovered. There are some really simple strategies to start with for promoting and normalizing a culture of care seeking in sports. First, we can strongly encourage our athletes to report any concussive event or any concussive symptom. Make that the clear expectation. We can listen earnestly to our athletes' concerns. We can talk to our athletes about concussions as injuries and describe the symptoms as matter-of-factly as we do the symptoms of other injuries. And we can advocate for the full recovery of a concussed athlete before they return to competition. President Roosevelt's charge in 1905 to improve player safety It's as valid today as it was then. Now is the time to promote a sports culture where the athletes can see room for the individual in the team concept, where it is the norm to accept the I in team. Just as we trust our athletes to dedicate themselves and to compete to win, they have to be able to trust us that we will not value winning over their well-being. Thank you.